Welcome back to Ask Allison. Today's question is more of a statement or a request, and it is tell us more about how there's no job better than private practice for parents. First, I'd like to thank Therapy Notes for sponsoring Ask Allison. Therapy Notes is a comprehensive practice management system. It keeps everything in one place: your notes, your calendar, insurance and billing, your practice paperwork, your video conferencing. You can have a totally paperless office all under one system. It costs less than one session fee per month, and it prevents that documentation anxiety that so many of us feel. I love that you can call and talk to an actual human if you have a question. And it's not just me, they are the #1 rated EHR on Trustpilot. So if you've been dragging your feet about choosing an EHR or you're unhappy with your current one, check out Therapy Notes. You can get 2 months for free if you use the promo code ABUNDANT at checkout at therapynotes.com. So this request was in response to an IG story I posted. If you don't follow me on Instagram, come hang out. What it boils down to is more time, more money, more freedom, and less stress. But I'm going to break that down to you with some concrete examples. I'm a biological mom, so that's the perspective I'm going to share from. But I know that most of this applies if you're not a biological parent. It applies to dads, adoptive parents, foster parents, step parents, etc. So if you're not a biological mom, my hope is that this will still give you exactly what you need. If you're somewhat in charge of taking care of a child, basically, I'm talking to you. I'm going to contrast this with my former coworker's experience as a mom in the agency that we worked in together back in the day. So my coworker got 6 weeks of paid maternity leave, paid because she had saved up 6 weeks of paid time off. She returned to work. She was able to pump in the privacy of her office, which was great, but she didn't have control of her schedule. So there were quite a few instances of leaking, aching breasts. Her milk supply dropped. It was a whole thing. Now, not all daycares allowed babies that young where we lived. And if you've ever searched for daycare, you know that basically you have to get on the wait list pre-gestation in order to get a spot. So she had to pay a nanny while she waited on the wait list. If you've ever had a full-time nanny, you know that that's taking up at least half, but probably more of an agency paycheck. And yeah, we all know kids are expensive. Um, Later on, if she wanted to attend a field trip or a class party, she needed to ask permission from her supervisors at least 2 weeks ahead of time using the approved paperwork, and needed to coincide with a slower time and the typical flow of clients, and her productivity may have been evaluated prior to approval. Summers were really stressful for her. Very few camps began earlier than she had to work and ended later than she got off work. So she sometimes had to take PTO in order to transport her kids from one place to the other. And this is all a very typical experience for working parents that work for other people, at least. This is not specific to therapists. None of you are like, what? If you know anybody with a kid working, this is pretty typical. Now, I was already in private practice when I had my first. Even living in a very expensive city, which was Seattle, I was able to save up enough money to take a 12-week maternity leave, plus some cushion just in case. My husband was in school; he wasn't working at the time, so it was all on me for that. Um, and I didn't know that you had to get on daycare wait lists when you first started thinking about getting pregnant. So I also had to go the nanny route. And thank goodness I was in private practice. Our nanny actually cost $5 less per hour than I made at my highest paying agency job. So I altered my schedule to allow for pumping breaks at the time that my body needed them. And as that shifted over time, I altered my schedule again. No one questioned me. No one got upset about it. I also switched my schedule around. My partner had Mondays off once he was working and out of school. So I worked on Mondays and we didn't have to have a nanny because he could be with our baby at that point. I left my office earlier so I could relieve the nanny on the other days when she was working. I saw the clients that I really loved working with, and this was an important thing for me postpartum. And it kind of stuck throughout the rest of my practice as I realized like I really wanted to have energy when I came home at the end of the day. And I was clear which clients drained my energy, the clients that I didn't really love working with, the clients that I didn't do my best work with. I wanted to end those sessions or in my workday, having had a bunch of those sessions where you're like, yes, that was awesome. So that's what I did. I could also start the day whenever made the most sense. 9 a.m. was much better for me for a while than my previous 8 a.m. And I even did 7 a.m.s pre-kid. And 9 a.m. was about as good as I could do that first year. Um, I didn't have to ask permission or fill out paperwork to go on field trips or attend class parties. I could just say at the end of one session, "Hey, can you meet next Tuesday at 3 instead of Monday at 1?" And they would say yes or no. Uh, I made way more money per hour, more than 5 times as much per hour. So I was able to really prioritize the phase of life I was in instead of bending to the will of a boss who looked exclusively at the numbers I brought in instead of my current situation. And I'm now the parent of elementary school kids, one of whom is about to start extracurricular activities for the first time. And I honestly have absolutely no idea how someone working 40 hours a week manages everything without keeling over, especially in a job as hard as ours. So if you are in that position in an agency working 40 plus hours a week, you've got kids or you want kids, and you feel like if one more thing gets added to my plate, I'm going to lose it. I think that's fair. Um, I'll say that being in private practice as a parent is the best because it is. I know that some of you may be on the fence. You might be concerned about the stability. Um, I often talk to people about how stable their jobs actually are. I know a lot of people who've not gotten raises in 5 to 10 years, those kinds of things. And there is definitely some instability at the start of private practice, but that tends to level out over time. If you need help building, if you're interested in that, that's exactly what I do over in the Abundance Party. It's only $69 a month, and it teaches you everything you want and need to know, and some things you probably don't want to know about building a practice. Um, Today's free worksheet is actually a chart of the differences in parenting while working in an agency versus parenting in private practice. I'm going to link to that in the notes, and it might be helpful for not just extra motivation for you if you want or need that, but also to guide some conversations if you have a partner and you guys want to talk about how it would look different or how it could look different. If you have some questions for me for Ask Allison, please DM them over on Instagram where I'm abundance_practice_building.